described the immediate aftermath of the fire inside the cathedral and thanks the first responders in attendance.
Notre Dame of Paris was saved, disfigured, but saved by the bravery of these men. In these minutes, in a few minutes, everything could have crumbled. Sadness, incertitude, and sadness not to have been able to see, not to ever be able to see the cathedral the same way it was before.
The opening ceremony was attended by First Lady Jill Biden, along with President-elect Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This marks Trump's first international trip since being reelected. The search continues for the man who shot and killed the CEO of United Healthcare Wednesday in New York City. Fox's Chanley Painter.
Authorities now say they have that gray backpack after finding it hidden in the brush in Central Park. Police say that when the assailant fled from the shooting scene on the e-bike, he rode into Central Park wearing this backpack, but exited without it. And that critical piece of evidence is now in the hands of a crime lab for analysis and testing. Police believe the suspect likely left on a bus headed towards Atlanta, reversing the same route the gunman took to the city. The FBI is assisting the NYPD with this investigation, offering a $50,000 reward for information, leading to an arrest and conviction.
Bullet shells found at the scene had the wards denied to pose and defend written on them, possibly a reference to criticism about how insurance companies delay paying claims. America is listening to Fox News.
It is time to take the quiz.
5 days a week, it's 5 questions in less than 5 minutes. We ask people on the streets of New York City to play along. Let's see how you do.
In the Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life, which lead character says the line, "Say brainless, don't you know where coconuts come from?" Never saw it.
George Bailey.
How'd you do? Exactly. These get tougher, so hang on.
Take the quiz every weekday at thequiz.fox. Thank you for taking the quiz.
I'm Benjamin Hall, Fox News correspondent and New York Times best-selling author. Join me for my brand new podcast, Searching for Heroes. Every Sunday, I'll speak with a few silent but noteworthy heroes, everyday people who illuminate stories of compassion and are true embodiments of heroism. Make sure you subscribe to this series wherever you download podcasts and leave a rating and review.
Senator
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
An Indianapolis cop is injured. I'm Ryan Hedrick. Here's what's trending this hour. An Indianapolis police officer was injured in a crash Friday afternoon at 56th and Moeller Road on the city's northwest side. Witnesses say the officer may have tried to run a red light before colliding with another car and then hitting a tree. First responders had to cut the officer out of the vehicle. IMPD has not released any information about the officer's condition. It began with a side swipe. John Herrick reports on a road rage incident in Clark County Friday.
Police say the drivers of a minivan and a Ford Bronco sideswiped each other, which led to them making each other even more angry by speeding up, slowing down, and gesturing towards one another. Eventually, police say the driver of the Bronco shot the minivan driver, but was on the phone with 911 dispatchers during the entire confrontation. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
You could have $1 million in your hand. Hoosier Lottery says a Powerball ticket bought in June at the Kendallville finish line has yet to be cashed in. You have until December 26th to claim the ticket. The Pacers snapped an 8-game road losing streak Friday, beating the Chicago Bulls 132-123. Tyrese Halliburton scored 23 points, crediting a pregame workout for helping the team refocus and execute their game plan.
Felt good to kind of, go over those things and, prepare for a game.
The Pacers are back home tomorrow against the Charlotte Hornets. Now, here's your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Tonight, mostly clear, low temperatures in the low to mid 30s, and for Sunday, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures warming up into the lower 50s, so back to above average temperatures. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
You'll be talking to family and friends on the phone during the holidays, so make sure everyone enjoys the conversation, including those with hearing loss. RelayIndiana.com provides caption telephones that allow the hard of hearing to have normal phone conversations through voice recognition technology. The other person's words appear on an easy-to-read screen. Don't let those with hearing loss become isolated during the holidays. Get the CapTel caption telephone from Relay Indiana. Learn more at RelayIndiana.com.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Can you hear me?
So can your customers. Get your message heard. Text business to 71007 now. Get results with Radio 1.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled that you're with us. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday. It's an interesting time to be in downtown Indy here this afternoon with the Big Ten championship game between Oregon and Penn State coming up here a little bit later this evening. And it's kind of neat. I was driving through downtown on the way to the parking garage here at the station, and man, a lot of Penn State fans in town. You know, a good number of Oregon fans. In fact, I went to the Oregon-Purdue game earlier this year, and a bunch of Oregon fans there too. But anyway, I'm just mentioning it's a cool time to be in downtown Indy. Downtown Indy hosts events, I think, better than any other city I've been to. For a quote-unquote cold weather city, the fact that it's so walkable, things are so interconnected, there are so many great walkways, there's so many great hotels and restaurants and clubs and everything just right here in downtown, very close to the stadium and the convention center. Just makes it a neat time to be in Indy, a neat time to be a Hoosier. I'm proud of the city in circumstances like this. But to get into the agenda of the Gun Guy Show, listen, we had a short show last week. We were shortened a little bit by the state high school football championships. Congratulations to those teams out there that won championships or that were even competing and were state runner-ups. I was. Here's a footnote. Those of you who've been listening to the Gun Guy Show all, 9.5 years we've been on the air, but you don't know this. In playing for Carmel all the way back to the season of 1975, we were state runner-ups. Got beat by Valparaiso 14-13, and I'm still a little angry about that. But so hey, I've been there. I've been a state runner-up. If you participated in that tournament, you participated in high school athletics generally, hey, congratulations to you. It'll make you a better person long term. But because the show was shortened a little bit last week, we didn't get to nearly all of the people who had called in. And so if you called in with a question, as I always say, I want to be true to our heritage here on the Gun Guy Show. We started as a, Ask the Gun Lawyer type call-in show. We always want to be a resource to our listeners and answer the questions that we can. And we had a bunch of people on hold when the show ended last week, and I felt terrible about that. So give us a call throughout the show if you have questions about gun laws, about self-defense, about firearms generally, about training in firearms, about gun safety, you name it. We get into all those issues here on the Gun Guy Show. Give us a call, 317-239-9393, 317-239-9393. A little bit later in the show, if I have time, I want to get in and talk a little bit about the case pending, the trial that's ongoing in New York involving Daniel Penny. Now, Daniel Penny is a 24-year-old Marine Corps veteran who was in downtown New York on a subway, as I understand it, and there was a homeless man that was on the subway, became threatening to other passengers. Neely was there. Neely stepped in to defend, protect other passengers, and ended up putting this other person in a chokehold. And it really just subdued him to hold him so that he couldn't harm other people, hold him for authorities. Well, the man ended up passing away. And now Daniel Penny is being prosecuted for manslaughter, for which in New York he could go away, go to jail, go to prison for a substantial period of time. And listen, I'm the farthest thing from a New York attorney. I don't practice there. I've not studied their laws. But we can talk about that scenario and talk about how Indiana law, I should say, applied to that scenario would be applicable, how that might play out if it were here in Indiana. But like I said, we want to, as always, continue to take your calls, 317-239-9393. And also, and I want to start out tonight, I have gotten so many questions over the years about NFA firearms, and there are a lot of different names people use for the same class of firearms, really firearms and accessories. And people refer to them as NFA, which stands for National Firearms Act, which is actually short for National Firearms Act of 1934. And people also call them Title II firearms. They call them Class III firearms, all of which seems inconsistent, and I'll explain all of that. But I've gotten a lot of questions over the years, and I've touched on these issues just a little bit here and there, but I've been a little bit reluctant to do too much of a deep drill because not everyone is into these kinds of firearms. And we'll talk about what types of firearms I'm even talking about, but I decided to go ahead and go into it in some significant detail on this show because, listen, if you're not into NFA type firearms, I want people to have a better understanding. There's a bit of an intimidation factor because there certainly is a registration process with the federal government that immediately spooks a lot of people away. I get it. A lot of people don't want the firearms they own being on any kind of a registry, being registered in any way, especially with the federal government. I get it. I totally understand that. That's why, in part, I will never have all of my firearms that I necessarily bought from a dealer myself, where I filled out the paperwork to do so. Does that mean I'm a criminal? Does that mean I have something to hide? No. I just don't trust the federal government with the information of who owns all the guns. And when the government starts insisting on any kind of registry, I think for the most part, they have an ulterior motive in doing so. And that is, at some point, they want to know who owns all the guns so that if they can ban, outlaw certain classes of firearms, or I don't know, as some politicians would love to do, all firearms, they know exactly where to go to round them up. And that's not paranoid. We've seen in states that have required registration for certain types of fire, for instance, so-called assault weapons. Semi-automatic rifles with detachable magazines. They will require registration. Well, then some of those same states have then banned them, and suddenly those people who complied with a law to register them got a letter in the mail saying, hey, you now own a banned firearm. You need to destroy it, take it outside the state, or surrender it to authorities. And it has happened. It has happened in states right here in the good old U.S. of A. So I understand the issue with registration. Having said that, there are some very attractive features. There are a lot of reasons why, as to certain kinds of NFA firearms, why someone might want to own one or more. I own several. And we're also talking about, within this classification of NFA firearms, suppressors, what a lot of people call silencers. In fact, what the federal law calls a silencer or a firearm muffler, interchangeably. Huge reasons to own one of those. So what are we talking about? What's the NFA Act of 1934? What do we mean by Title II firearms or Class III firearms? I'm going to get into those issues, explain some of this, and hopefully demystify some of this so that if people have a desire, and again, the registration issue is real. I get it. I will never argue with anybody who says, I don't want to go through any NFA registration process because I don't want the federal government knowing what I own. No argument from me. I get it. However, there are certain beneficial characteristics, helpful characteristics about certain NFA firearms that I want to get into and why there is, in fact, reason to own them, in particular, in my mind, suppressors. And why are suppressors, which are not firearms in the traditional sense, they are actually defined as firearms under federal law, which is ridiculous. But a suppressor or a silencer, which all it does, it's an accessory that reduces, doesn't eliminate the report, the sound of a gunshot. Why in the hell are we regulating those as firearms to begin with? I'll get into all of that, get into some detail and some explanation, and hopefully demystify this process a little bit. And throughout the show, continue to take your calls, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. Give us a call. Join the discussion. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
I remember our very first WIBC Radiothon for the Salvation Army. We raised $5,000.
The 30th anniversary WIBC Radiothon for the Salvation Army, presented by Financial Center.
Your donation is so important.
Since 1994, your generosity has helped raise millions of dollars that stay here in Central Indiana. Join us December 13th and 14th, doing the most good. The Salvation Army of Central Indiana, Financial Center at 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. This is a 4.5 to 5 hour course which features the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. We'd love to have you attend the next one. We have one scheduled for Saturday, January 25th. By the way, this is available as a Christmas present, a holiday present. You want to sign up, just drop us a note and say we'd like a gift certificate. You want to take a family member, gift this to the new gun owner in your life, or perhaps a new gun owner in your family. We'd love to have them there. We'd love to send you a gift certificate and take care of your holiday needs a little bit as well. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. 4.5 to 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. This includes a detailed discussion of the use of force, including deadly force and self-defense, where you can and can't carry a firearm, including a handgun. What's the real information on constitutional carry or permitless carry here in Indiana? Whole lot of bad information. How to avoid commonly prosecuted crimes like criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon, pointing a firearm, intimidation with a deadly weapon. I defend a lot of each of those cases, and a lot of people don't understand what they are. They don't understand how they can be prosecuted for what they think is legal. That's exactly what the class is designed to address. So Saturday, January 25th at Indy Arms, 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m., $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. Or Saturday, March 15th at Parabellum in Avon. You're out there in Avon, Parabellum out on Kingston Street. Great place to shoot, as Indy Arms is here in Indianapolis. But a great place to shoot, great place to shop for firearms. And on March 15th, we'll have our Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class there as well. Also, $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. Check it out at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Hey, it's Rob. If you want to grow your hair back, check out the precision and accuracy of the Artis Robotic FUE at We Grow Hair Indy. You'll be amazed at the permanent natural results you can get and get back to work ASAP. Darren Andrews, Clinic Director of We Grow Hair Indy, is here to tell us more.
The Artis Robotic FUE hair transplant at We Grow Hair Indy, one of the most sophisticated hair transplant procedures available. The accuracy and the precision of the Artis Robotic FUE is what clients love the most. Get the results you want with our Artis FUE or multi-unit hair grafting procedure.
Don't wait. Call today and find out more about the Artis Robotic FUE at WeGrowHairIndy.com. Call 317-522-2995 for your hair evaluation. 317-522-2995 or go to WeGrowHairIndy.com. and grow your hair back today.
Planning on inviting friends and family over this winter? Whether you're hosting a holiday celebration or a New Year's Eve party, you know all about the hustle to get the house looking perfect. But there's one thing you can't fix on your own: the sticking windows and doors, drywall cracks, uneven floors, or mold and mildew smells. Things that stand out. Indiana Foundation Service knows that all of these signs point to major damage building up in your foundation, crawl space, or basement, and it'll only get worse over time. Don't worry. With a free foundation inspection from Indiana Foundation Service, the team's experts will identify your home's issue at the source. You'll want to get ahead of these problems sooner rather than later. Visit IndianaFoundation.com today to book your free inspection with a no-obligation quote included. That's IndianaFoundation.com. Indiana Foundation Service. There's a reason they are the trusted local experts.
Indiana Foundation Service. Reliability from the ground up.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you got to make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Discover cancer care that empowers you at Community Health Network MD Anderson Cancer Center, with leading-edge treatment options right in your backyard.
I feel blessed and lucky. If I knew someone that was going through what I was going through, I would definitely encourage them to participate in a clinical trial. For me, it was life-changing.
Learn more at ecommunity.com/cancer.
Don't miss the holiday concert experience of the season. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, The Lost Christmas Eve. December 19th, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Reserve seats on sale now at Ticketmaster. An awe-inspiring blend of rock, classical, and holiday music for the entire family. Don't miss Trans-Siberian Orchestra, live in concert.
Bees offering our Black Friday extended sale. 52% off, 10% manufacturer rebates, and 18 months, no interest, no payments.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Thanks for being here. We've already had a call come in on the studio hotline. Let's go to the phone, and Annie has called in with a question. Annie, what you got for us?
Hi, Guy. I was praying today that you would get into the Daniel Penny case, even though it's not gun-related. And I asked your call screener to put me on hold to mid-show when you said you were ready then to talk about Daniel Penny. So are you ready this early?
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. We always want to be responsive to our callers, especially our return callers, Annie. So you have special privileges here on the Gun Guy Show, so you go right ahead.
That's good to know. From a fellow Scorpio. I've been watching this case, and I just get more madder and madder as it goes on. The basics is that Daniel Penny is an ex-Marine. He's white. The deceased is black, a mentally ill man, if not a criminal. He had 42 arrests in New York City. He had a current warrant out pending him. I have several questions. If you will just give me a few minutes to ask these questions. Does Daniel Penny, number one, does he have any grounds to sue the police department for not having arrested this man and put him in a mental institution and or prison?
Yeah, no, that one's a real tough one, Annie, because there's governmental immunity that applies to a lot of those things, and suing the government for enforcing or not enforcing a law is like the toughest kind of possible lawsuit you can have against the government. So, and in New York, I would think that would be particularly problematic. So, no, there's virtually no chance of a successful lawsuit along those lines.
Okay, and then my next question is, if Daniel Penny beats the criminal charges and is set free, I'd heard recently the deceased parents have recently filed a civil case against Penny. I know if Trump comes in, he can give amnesty on the criminal charges, but not on any civil suit. Is that true?
Well, actually, there's a couple of problems there, Annie, because the president can give a pardon or clemency as to federal charges, not state charges. So this is being prosecuted in state court in New York, as far as I understand it. And that being so, there couldn't be a pardon or clemency granted by the president. But to your broader point, that also cannot affect civil litigation. That is a damages case for wrongful death, it would be called in this situation. And by the way, on that point is why I'm so incredibly glad that we have the self-defense immunity statute that we have here in Indiana. And I'm always excited to talk about that statute because I wrote it. And I wrote it back in 2019. And it was motivated by the fact that I had represented multiple clients who acted in self-defense or the defense of innocent third parties, and were not charged with criminal charges, but were then sued. And the most recent case leading up to that 2019 law that I wrote and that we got passed that same year, a lady named Kirsty Janin, and she saved the life of a police officer who was being attacked, was milliseconds away from being shot with his own gun. And this was happening literally in Kirsty's front yard. And she saw it happening. Small town Indiana, Rising Sun, Indiana, typical small town. The officer's son was actually at Kirsty's house. And the officer is watching out Kirsty's front window as his father's about to be murdered with his own firearm, wrestling with this drug addict who was high on meth and several other illegal drugs. And Kirsty ran out there and heroically shot the bad guy, saved the life of the officer. No charges. The prosecutor's office called her a hero. The police department called her a hero. But some scumbag lawyer filed a lawsuit saying, "Oh, well, she overreacted because she was just a hysterical female," was the commentary that they were pushing, and filed a civil lawsuit. And the FOP down there gathered a bunch of money and called the NRA and asked for a self-defense attorney recommendation. I'm grateful for this. They recommended me, and they hired me. And I told Kirsty, I said, not only are we going to win this idiotic lawsuit, but we're going to change the law in Indiana. And we used her case really as the poster child for what now we have in Indiana, which is if you're justified in using force and self-defense, you have complete civil immunity for that. You can't be sued over that. And if you're not charged with a crime over that use of force, that raises an assumption, a presumption, a legal presumption you can use to get the case dismissed that you were justified and therefore immune from any civil liability. And if you get that case dismissed on the basis of the immunity, you can recover attorney's fees. And I've already had a case where my client shot a person breaking into their house, no criminal charges. Again, somebody files a lawsuit, some frivolous lawsuit trying to extort money out of them. We had that case dismissed and we got an award of attorney's fees. But back to the Daniel Penny case in New York, do they have, self-defense immunity? Oh, hell no. Not like we do here in Indiana, thankfully. And so, yes, Daniel Penny can be sued, and there's not anything that the president could do about that.
Okay, I have one more question.
Okay.
Okay. It seems to me that the judge should be guilty of jury tampering. He introduced, in addition to negligent homicide, he introduced a higher charge. I can't remember what it was titled at, to the jury, hoping that the jury would pick the lesser charge of the negligent homicide in lieu of finding Penny innocent. And then when they came up just the other day saying that it was a hung jury, 3-3, the judge refused to accept that. He said he removed the higher charge, leaving the negligent homicide charge or innocent.
Yeah, and Penny, I'm sorry, we're going into a break, and I had to cut you off just a little bit. But judges, again, for the same reason, we're talking about immunities. Judges aren't going to be charged with a crime like jury tampering. If they did something that wasn't legally sustainable, if they did something that was improper and that prejudiced Daniel Penny's case, that can be a basis for an appeal. and if there's any conviction and any improper act, any law, any act contrary to the law committed by the judge, well, that's error. And if it prejudiced Daniel Penny's case, then you can use that to get the case overturned, to either get a new trial or even to have the case thrown out completely. But judges aren't going to be prosecuted for something like that. If it turns out to be prejudicial and an error in the law, that's simply a basis for an appeal, where ultimately it could help Daniel Penny win in the long run. But a judge isn't going to be prosecuted or have any civil liability in the meantime unless it's really intentional and it's really dramatically egregious, or something like as a result of corruption, not just incompetence or prejudice or political bias. So and very unlikely on all of that. But great questions, and people wanted to. I said earlier, leading into the show, that I want to talk a little bit about the Daniel Penny case. So Annie did a great job of asking great questions about all of that. We're at the bottom of the hour. It's time to take a break. We'll be right back. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
The year's coldest day has arrived.
93 WIBC.
Winds wrapping around the low pressure. Wind chills only in the single digits.
Hear the news.
Murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in New York City.
Does not appear to be a random act.
Shot by a masked gunman.
Deny, depose, and defend, written on live rounds.
Another news update is minutes away.
The Pacers have dropped 8 straight road games.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
Hey, holiday heroes. It's a special time of year at Shane Company. As a family business for 4 generations, we know firsthand that fine jewelry is the gift that says it all. From the engagement ring that says, "You're the one," to the diamond tennis bracelet that says, "Thank you for being you." We have the widest selection of fine jewelry gifts, in stock and ready to take home. Come pick out a pair of hand-matched diamond stud earrings or a necklace with a colorful gemstone. Check out our new Bloom collection, one of owner Tom Shane's favorites this year, featuring stunning sapphires, emeralds, or rubies. At Shane Company, every gift and every price range is crafted to our high-quality standards. We have jewelers working in every store to bring your gifts to life, making sure rings fit just right, setting center stones and engagement rings by hand, and engraving your pieces to make your gifts even more special. Your gifts will always be protected with our unmatched free lifetime warranty. Visit shaneco.com and come see us in store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Martha was ready to switch to a career in IT.
There's always a need for IT specialists, especially with AI coming out and cybersecurity. It's practically recession-proof.
My Computer Career even provides job placement help.
The career specialists, they're very helpful. They care about you as a person. You're not just a number to them. I would recommend My Computer Career wholeheartedly to anyone.
Take the free career evaluation today. Become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. Not available in Washington State.
Hey, this is Pastor Nathan from Life Church.
And Pastor Tina.
Listen, we have some awesome Christmas experiences coming up for you this season.
You do not want to go through the holidays forgetting the reason we are talking about Christmas to begin with.
First, we'd like to invite you to the Sunday experience on the 22nd.
And our special Christmas Eve and Eve services.
Go to lifechurchin.com for times and services.
See you there.
This hour powered by bwindow.com, where their annual 52% off Black Friday has been extended.
Fox News, I'm Jane Fergus. President-elect Trump in Paris for the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral. He met with French President Emmanuel Macron.
It's an honor to be here. We had a good time together, and we had a lot of success, really great success working together on defense and offense, too. And it certainly seems like the world is going a little crazy right now, and we'll be talking about that.
President Biden reportedly considering preemptive pardons to prevent prosecutions by the incoming Trump administration.
Now, some of the names being floated: Dr. Fauci, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, retired General Mark Milley, Senator-elect Adam Schiff, and former Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Biden pardoned his son Hunter after insisting he would not. America's listening to Fox News.
Mark Dietl is the only real estate expert I trust with the sale of my home. And it was the same for Dee and Andrew in Noblesville. Here's what they had to say. We were done with the rat race and ready to live the dream of buying a camper and traveling west. We needed top cash from our home to make our dream work. Thankfully, we hired Mark Dietl, who delivered big time. Our home sold for our asking price in 4 days on the market.
Mark Dietl is the only real estate agent that we trust and recommend here on the Hammer and Nigel show. And it's because of the guarantee. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. You pick your move date, no long-term contracts. You can cancel at any time. Call Mark Dietl today, 317-755-4232, or go to marketdietl.com. That's Mark, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietl.com.
What does the joy of Christmas mean to you? A gift? Time with family? Decorations and traditions? At Shepherd Community, the joy of Christmas is learning to read, feeling safe and loved, finding a stable job, and having a community that cares. Shepherd gives its neighbors gifts of joy and hope for a brighter future. You can give the joy of Christmas to neighbors living in poverty, not just at the holidays, but all year long. Visit caringatchristmas.org/give. That's caringatchristmas.org/give.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Absolute Comfort. Chris Wedekin is the owner, and he tells us why many homeowners are giving up their air conditioners for a high-efficiency heat pump.
By removing your air conditioner and replacing it with a heat pump, you are not only saving by getting a higher efficiency air conditioner, the heat pump works in reverse and saves you money in the wintertime as well.
See if a heat pump is the right move for you by going to AbsoluteComfort.org. Absolute Comfort is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So Annie led into this a little bit and with great questions. And let's go ahead and talk about the Daniel Penny case in New York. And I really just want to use it as a premise to talk a little bit about self-defense law here in Indiana. As I mentioned, I'm nowhere close to a New York attorney. Haven't studied their laws, don't know how self-defense works out in New York. I know how it should work. And it should work a lot more like our law works here in Indiana. And this is separate from the idea of the civil immunity issue that I went into before the break. Let's just talk about what's justified and what's not. And first of all, I think part of what led in New York to Daniel Penny, and again, this is a Marine Corps veteran, 24 years old. He's on a subway, he's on a train, and there's a homeless guy, as Andy pointed out, had been arrested a whole bunch of times and had a mental health issue clearly, and he's accosting, bothering, threatening other passengers. And Daniel Penny's the kind of guy, and I know a lot of guys like this, and a lot of us identify with this mentality that wasn't going to sit by and watch as someone is assaulting, bothering, potentially committing crimes against other innocent people in his presence. And so Daniel Penny intervened and, telling this guy to back off, telling him to leave people alone. The guy was belligerent, aggressive toward Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny ended up putting him in a chokehold, and the guy ended up passing away. And there's a lot of dispute, kind of like the George Floyd case, as to what really killed this guy. Was it really the chokehold? Was it, a pre-existing medical condition that was simply exacerbated by the physical exertion of attempting to assault people and of being prevented from doing so by a Good Samaritan? So there are causation issues, and those are for experts, scientists, doctors to hash out. But in terms of the law, it's a good opportunity to talk about what the law is here in Indiana with respect to the fact that when he got involved, Daniel Penny wasn't necessarily protecting himself. He wasn't necessarily defending himself. He was just defending these other innocent people on the train. And let's let's overlay Indiana law on that and talk about whether that's legal, whether that's justified or not. Indiana law with respect to what we call our self-defense statute. And when we talk about self-defense, it's actually a bit of a misnomer because it includes both self-defense and defense of a third person. And in Indiana, it says very clearly, and if you want to look this up, you want to bring it up in front of you, you can just Google Indiana Code 35-41-3-2. And you go down to, I believe it's subsection C, that says a person is justified in using reasonable force to protect the person, that means themselves, or a third person, from what they reasonably believe to be the imminent use of unlawful force. So, a number of important words in that, but it clearly says that I can defend a third person exactly the same as I can defend myself. I don't have to be related to that person. I don't have to know that person. I can defend a total stranger with reasonable force against the unlawful use of force against them, the imminent use. That means it's about to happen. And so what defines what's reasonable force? And that would be an important issue here because, okay, you put someone in a quote-unquote chokehold. Well, obviously, whether that's purely defensive in terms of simply holding someone and immobilizing them and waiting for authorities, or whether you're actually choking them out with sufficient pressure to cause them serious injury or death, all depends on how much pressure you're putting in applying that chokehold by definition. So I'm sure that's a key issue in that case as well. But reasonable typically means that it's proportionate to the threat. I can use a proportionate level of force to defend against whatever threat exists that a person constitutes as against me or as against that other innocent third person. It has to be proportionate, therefore reasonable. That's one rule. And so you can see how this shakes out. But if Daniel Penny, first of all, says, all right, I need to defend these innocent third parties against the imminent use of unlawful force against them, can he do so? Yeah, under Indiana law, absolutely. And what would determine whether what he ultimately did was justified or not is going to be whether the level of force he used was reasonable under the circumstances. And the statute goes on to say a person can use deadly force, and deadly force is force that creates a substantial risk of serious bodily injury or death. That's the definition. So I can use deadly force, which is force that creates a substantial likelihood of serious bodily injury or death, if I believe it's necessary to prevent serious bodily injury or the commission of a forcible felony. That's a felony committed through the use of threat of force. So you put all that together, is I can use that proportionate level of force, and I can do so on behalf of myself. I can do so on behalf of a third party. Now, that doesn't necessarily answer the question as to Daniel Penny. Do I think Daniel Penny should have ever been prosecuted? Of course not. Do I think he should have been sued by the family of this guy? Of course not. Again, that's why we have a self-defense immunity law here in Indiana that I'm very, very proud of. And by the way, Representative Jim Lucas was the one who championed that. He filed it. He and I worked together. I wrote it. He filed it. He was the author of it in the Indiana General Assembly. He championed that along with Ben Smaltz, Jerry Torr, and others. And we ended up getting it passed. Peggy Mayfield was a big part of that, and it was a big victory. But if this case were to unfold in Indiana, and we're applying Indiana law, just hypothetically, the level of force that Daniel Penny used, and whether it was proportionate to the threat, whether it was justified given the level of threat this person constituted as to either Daniel Penny or the other people on that train, would be what would determine ultimately whether he's convicted or not. That's what the jury would have to decide. Preliminarily, it's what a prosecutor has to decide in deciding whether or not they can prove that case beyond a reasonable doubt and whether they decide to bring that case to begin with. Do I think this case would be prosecuted in Indiana? Kind of depends on what county. Here in Marion County, I could definitely see that happening. And when the racial overtones get applied as well, sure. You've got a young, fit, former Marine, Caucasian man, the homeless guy who's accosting people, threatening people on the subway is an African American gentleman. Okay, now you've got the racial overtones that can influence, and we're naive if we don't believe it can, a criminal prosecution. Yes, it does. Yes, it can. We've seen it. Read Bonfire of the Vanities. or watch. There's really a decent movie. I read the book long before the movie came out, but it discusses those exact issues, and this goes back a generation. So yes, that is a factor. It's a simple political reality that factor exists. So that's a little bit about the Daniel Perry case. You got questions, but Daniel Penny, I should say. You have questions about that, give us a call, 317-239-9393, or your other firearm law, firearm safety, firearm training, firearms in general. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
I remember our very first WIBC Radiothon for the Salvation Army. We raised $5,000.
The 30th anniversary WIBC Radiothon for the Salvation Army, presented by Financial Center.
Your donation is so important.
Since 1994, your generosity has helped raise millions of dollars that stay here in Central Indiana. Join us December 13th and 14th, doing the most good. The Salvation Army of Central Indiana, Financial Center at 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Rock Op Defense Solutions. I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a really top-end, top-tier fighting rifle, defense rifle, we've got those available from a manufacturer located right here in Central Indiana, located in Avon. Rock Op Defense Solutions. These folks make some of the nicest AR-15 platform rifles out there. I know, I own one. It's my absolute leading rifle right now. It's the one I'm taking to training here in the very near future. It's the one I practice with the most. It's a beautiful rifle, well made. It's mil-spec and better throughout. They can help with customization. They can help with Cerakoting. They can help with, if you want to SBR, which I did. We're going to talk about NFA items here on the show in just a little bit. I wanted to turn my rifle into an SBR. That is a short-barreled rifle. They helped me with that. In fact, they modified my rifle for me. And I handled the paperwork to turn it into an SBR. Boom. Now I've got a suppressed SBR, which is exactly what I wanted. And Rock Op Defense Solutions happened throughout, or helped me throughout that entire process. It really high-end rifles, really great folks to work with, whether it's optimizing and improving your existing rifle, buying a new rifle, customizing your rifle. They could do that all right there in Avon at Rock Op Defense Solutions. Check them out at rock-opdefense.com. That's rock-opdefense.com.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Xfinity here. How can we help?
Hi. My entire family's obsessed with all things Wicked, but my kids can't stop watching the trailer, and now they're having a Wicked-themed sleepover. Do you think our internet can handle all of the streaming and memeing going on?
Well, we've engineered our Xfinity gateways to handle hundreds of devices at once, so they can all stay magically connected.
Wow. Are you a wizard?
I wish. No, just someone that won't let a bad connection burst your internet bubble.
Now through December 22nd, get Thrillifyingly fast 150 megabit Xfinity internet for just $35 a month for 12 months with no annual contract and free Wi-Fi equipment included. Plus, learn how to get a free 5G phone with Xfinity Mobile at Xfinity.com. Switch today and keep the magic going from your screen to the big screen. And see Wicked in theaters now. Restrictions apply. Requires pay plus plan on auto-pay stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. After promo, regular rates apply. Currently $56 a month for internet service and $15 for Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and the holidays are almost here. It's time to get ready for friends and family and your family's version of Uncle Eddie. And nobody's better at that than Zerorez. Don't miss this deal. Get 3 rooms Zero-Resified starting at just $129 and $75 off air duct cleaning too. That's a $40 savings on carpet cleaning. The Zerorez guys know how to get your carpets clean, and they can help you deal with the deeply embedded dirt, dander, and allergens, not to mention pet stains and some of your stains. The Game Changer is the patented ZR water that uses no soap, leaves no residue, and there are no harsh chemicals because they just aren't needed to get things really clean. That's why Zerorez is my go-to carpet cleaning company, because I know that there's nobody better. I just love these folks. Just call them, mention WIBC, and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $129, plus you get $75 off air duct cleaning too. Call 317-388-5141 or book things online at ZeroResIndy.com. That's ZeroResIndy.com.
JMV here. This holiday season, you must visit Miss M's Home and Garden for great holiday gifts and decor. Come shop for fresh-cut trees, wreaths, garland, and greenery for outside decorating. If you have plant lovers in the family, Miss M's has a magnificent selection of houseplants that make great gifts. Now through December the 23rd, houseplants are 20% off. Miss M's Home and Garden wants to wish everyone a happy holiday season. Miss M's is located on State Road 135, south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville.
Hey, this is Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. The year-end clearance event is now through Monday. Save 50% off all. In stock and special order Lazy Boy and Smith Brothers with extra discounts for cash and 12 months interest-free financing. That's every sofa, recliner, sectional. Plus, get a free large Big Green Egg with select Tempur-Pedic and Stearns & Foster mattresses. Hurry, sale ends Monday only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus with free delivery.
It's the Degenerates Next Door, a sports betting podcast for dudes.
Real dudes, not the fake Kardashian-looking like dudes you see on television doing this. The Degenerates Next Door. Download and subscribe today anywhere you get your podcast.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'll tell you what, I was just asked a great question on the YouTube chat. If you don't participate in the YouTube chat or, again, watching the show on YouTube, I always make the same comment. I'm not much to look at. But if you ever want to watch the show and more importantly, participate in the chat feature, it's something I try to keep an eye on. It's a little tough to do while you're doing live radio. But you're welcome to join that. Just go to youtube.com, search for 93 WIBC. Boom. If my show's on, it should be one of your options to click on and follow along and ask questions or participate in the discussion on the chat. But our friend Bonnie on the chat, she's a regular participant, contributor there, and she asked, Guy, any thoughts on Hunter Biden getting pardoned for his gun-related conviction? And oh my, yes, Bonnie. And I talked about this a little bit on Hammer and Nigel on Monday Gun Day last week, but I have a lot of thoughts about that. And if you're unfamiliar or don't know the specifics, Hunter Biden was prosecuted and convicted because, and again, obviously this is the son of Joe Biden and a guy who published a book talking about his cocaine addiction, who had his laptop left at a PC repair place. The guy ends up turning it over to law enforcement. And we had, 51 members of the intelligence community come out and say, oh, no, this is Russian disinformation that took the form of the Hunter Biden laptop. And then, lo and behold, the U.S. Department of Justice not only concluded that the Hunter Biden laptop was legitimate, but actually used it as evidence after having substantiated that it was legitimate, and getting it authenticated to the extent it was admissible in evidence at his prosecution. And a big part of what's on the laptop, of course, we don't know a lot of what was on the laptop because the FBI has been sitting on it, and that's a big part of what I hope we discover when we gut the Justice Department, including the FBI, and Kash Patel goes in there and turns the place upside down and shakes it. We'll find out what exactly is on the laptop, but what we know is on it is a lot of discussion of him being addicted to cocaine at the exact time frame that he went in and bought a gun from a dealer in Delaware. And when you go in and buy a gun, if you bought a gun anytime in the last generation or two, when you go in, you fill out a form. It's called an ATF Form 4473, and there's a number of questions they ask you on there. And they ask you, have you been convicted of a crime punishable by over 1 year? Well, that's asking you if you've been convicted of a felony. That's how felonies are defined. And yes or no, have you been adjudicated to be mentally ill? Yes or no, and you answer all these different questions. Well, one of the questions is, are you a user of or addicted to an illegal drug. And you're answering this essentially under oath on this form, and there are substantial penalties for lying on the form. At the time, Hunter Biden checked no next to the box that said, I am not a user of or addicted to any illegal drugs. He was absolutely, unequivocally, provably addicted to and a user of cocaine. He admitted to that in his book. He admitted to that all over the place and on the Hunter Biden laptop and posts and videos. And it was substantial, the amount of evidence the government had. And actually 3 different crimes arose out of that. And I have a bit of a problem with this, by the way, because it rings of a problem with double jeopardy in the sense that you can be arrested and prosecuted for more than one crime for basically doing one act. Here, the act was answering no on the form. And that actually led to conviction on 2 different crimes. One was lying on the form. You can get you up to 10 years in federal prison. And the other was misleading a dealer in order to obtain a handgun or a firearm. And even though it's the exact same act, which is lying on the form, it ends up getting you another conviction. And actually, in fairness, there's a separate act, which was simply possessing the gun after he successfully passed the background check and the gun store sold it to him. He walked out then with the gun in his possession and possessing the gun, not just lying on the form to get it, but after he passed the background check by lying, he then obtained the gun and possessed it. Well, possessing the gun as someone who's a user of or addicted to illegal drugs was also a crime. So he was convicted of all 3 of those crimes. He then was pardoned by Daddy. To answer Bonnie's question, do I have any thoughts on that? Hell yeah, I do. I don't want to hear from Democrats in the government at any levels, particularly in the federal government, telling me we need more gun crimes when the President of the United States has sent a very clear message that we're not going to enforce the laws that exist. And when they say, oh, our laws are too lax and people that shouldn't have guns, it's too easy for them to get guns, Exhibit A is Hunter Biden, the son of the president. Don't talk to me about more gun laws. End of story. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
800-948-1659. 800-948-1659. 800-948-1659. That's 800-948-1659.
Don't miss the holiday concert experience of the season. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, The Lost Christmas Eve. December 19th, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Reserve seats on sale now at Ticketmaster. An awe-inspiring blend of rock, classical, and holiday music for the entire family. Don't miss Trans-Siberian Orchestra, live in concert.
The holiday season is here, and your shopping begins and ends at Premier Arms in Brownsburg. 3754 South Green Street, PremierArms.com. You've got the firearms with Premier Arms, the accessories, all at fantastic prices, new and used firearms, and of course, PA Jewelers, the jewelry store inside Premier Arms with the one-of-a-kind jewelry selection, the diamonds, the gold, the silver, the gemstones, everything you want this Christmas season. Get a gift card today to Premier Arms. It is the gift that they will love this holiday season. PremierArms.com.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Come in to Exercise Inc. for a free consultation in the month of December and get 2 free sessions. Exercise Inc. 5 locations. Visit exerciseinc.com.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
French firefighters get a thank you. I'm Jane Fergus, Fox News. Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris has been renovated and officially reopened after a devastating 2019 fire. French President Emmanuel Macron talks about his gratitude for the firefighters. His remarks here through a translator.
The cross and Pietà that were there in the pillar, they were intact, immaculate. About a few centimeters only from the ark that fell down.
The opening ceremony was attended by First Lady Jill Biden, along with President-elect Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This marks Trump's first international trip since his reelection. Police in New York pick up new evidence in the manhunt for the killer of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Here's Fox's Chanley Painter.
Authorities now say they have that gray backpack after finding it hidden in the brush in Central Park. Police say that when the assailant fled from the shooting on an e-bike, he rode into Central Park wearing this backpack but exited without it. That critical piece of evidence now in the hands of a crime lab for analysis and testing. Police believe the suspect likely left on a bus headed towards Atlanta, reversing the same route he took on the way to the city. They have video of him entering the bus depot, but not video of him exiting. So now the FBI is assisting the NYPD with this investigation, offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction.
Police say bullets recovered from the crime scene in front of the Hilton Hotel in Manhattan are also being tested to see if they match bullets from any prior shootings. America's listening to Fox News.
Will Kane had you covered this election.
Brett Baer joins us now. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy joining us on The Will Kane Show. Tommy Lahren joins us now.
It's the new must-listen podcast in America.
I think Sanity, I'm hoping, is going to win today. What they did was the biggest miscarriage of democracy, I think, in my lifetime.
I see a victory for Donald Trump. I see a victory for America.
The Will Kane Show. Listen and watch now at willkaneshow.com. From the Fox News Podcasts Network, the Fox News Rundown, a contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. Your daily dose of news twice a day, going far beyond the headlines, tapping into the massive reporting resources of Fox News to provide a full picture of the news of the day.
I'm Dana Perino.
I'm Brett Baer.
I'm Maria Bartiromo.
I'm Brian Kilmeade, and this is the Fox News Rundown.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
President Biden reported
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A sting and a prison sentence. I'm Ryan Hedrick. Here's what's trending this hour. A man arrested for child sex crimes last year was sentenced this week. Here's Harrison Silcock.
Law enforcement in Johnson County has become familiar with running sex sting operations where they use undercover officers to catch and arrest child predators. Fred Haas, who's from Indianapolis, is one of the people arrested in one of those operations from April last year. The Johnson County Prosecutor's Office announced his sentencing this week. Haas pled guilty to several of the charges, including child solicitation, and will have to register as a sex offender, serve 1 year behind bars.
You may have heard that 2 Indianapolis cops were found not guilty on Friday in the custody death of Herman Whitfield III. John Kautzman, a defense attorney for officers Adam Ahmad and Steven Sanchez, called Whitfield's death a tragedy.
It's also a tragedy when the state brings a criminal case against police officers.
The Whitfield family has filed a civil lawsuit against the officers, and Kautzman says he will represent them in that case, too. One person died and 2 others were badly injured in a crash Friday night on Indianapolis's northwest side. Police say the collision occurred along North Michigan Road near Eagle Creek Park. Indiana Fever Center Tammy Fagbenle will be one of 11 players joining the WNBA's new Golden State Valkyries. She was taken during Friday night's draft after the Fever chose not to make her one of the team's 6 protected players. Now here's your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Tonight, mostly clear, low temperatures in the low to mid 30s, and for Sunday, mostly sunny skies. Temperatures warming up into the lower 50s, so back to above average temperatures. On Wish TV, Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Steel holiday savings are here. Make room under the tree for gifts at the top of their wish list. Right now, power up the holidays with great deals on long-lasting tools. Find the perfect gift at your local Steel dealer or shop the Steel Holiday Gift Guide at steelusa.com.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and want to work with a local independent dealer you can trust, like B&W HVAC Plumbing and Electrical? Find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit IndyHumane.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I want to talk a little bit about NFA firearms. That is, firearms regulated by the National Firearms Act of 1934. So what are we talking about? And my goal in going into this is to demystify this a little bit, take some of the, I think, natural fear people have. Fear maybe is not the right word. Hesitancy, suspicion are probably better words as far as what keeps people from possessing, buying, obtaining, or making NFA firearms, which you can do. But what are we talking about? Well, first of all, what was going on in 1934 that resulted in Congress passing this act? Well, this is right in the gangland wars era, coming out of Prohibition. You had the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929. Remember that? Was, the gangs in Chicago, and they're warring over the liquor trade coming out of Prohibition. And you had Al Capone and what was it, Machine Gun Kelly? No, the original Machine Gun Kelly. And John Dillinger, Robin Banks. And you had all this stuff going on. John Dillinger from Indiana, by the way. And you had these gangs. You had gangsters in the original definition of that term, and they were first of all, yes, wreaking some havoc. Secondly, they were also being portrayed and dramatized dramatically. Oof, that would have been a horrible redundancy there. They're being glorified to some degree in the media, particularly in movies. And you had Hollywood, showing people, Bonnie and Clyde. These people, running around, and they're robbing banks. They're getting in shootouts, and a lot of the weapons they were used were particularly scary to a lot of folks. And leading the list on that were machine guns. And when we say machine gun, we're talking about a firearm where when you pull the trigger, one pull of the trigger gives you more than one bullet. And typically you pull the trigger and the gun continues to shoot until you release the trigger, or it runs out of ammunition, or it jams. Otherwise, you get successive shots, usually in very short order. And you get a lot of shots in a little period of time. And that can be really devastating in some circumstances. It also is true that you're sacrificing accuracy to some degree by rate of fire, because they can be a little difficult to control. But one of the firearms that received a lot of notoriety and a lot of attention and was featured in a lot of movies and was in fact used by a lot of these gangsters was the Thompson submachine gun. And there are some of these still out there. Some of these are legal to own, legal to transfer. They have to be registered under the NFA, which is exactly what we're talking about. But they're automatic firearms, typically in 45 ACP, so they're 45 caliber. And they're machine guns. In Congress, whether it was, because of the Hollywood depictions of what was going on with gangsters, or whether it was what was really going on with gangland crime, Congress, oh my gosh, we need a law. We need to regulate some of these firearms these gangsters are using. And what's really interesting is back in 1934, the Second Amendment, I think, was respected by Congress a hell of a lot more than it is today, depending on, of course, on who has the majority in Congress. But Congress still feared the Second Amendment in 1934. And Congress said to itself, unlike a lot of our politicians in Washington today, particularly Democrats, Congress said, well, we can't just ban these things. We can't say, well, you can't own a machine gun, for instance, because that would be unconstitutional, because that's infringing the right to bear arms under the Second Amendment, and that would be tossed aside. So how do we deal with this problem of gangsters running around killing people with machine guns, for instance? That's just one example of what they wanted to regulate. And what they decided was, I know, in typical government fashion, we'll tax it. We'll tax it and we'll require registration so that we know everybody who legally has one of these. And if we find somebody with one who hasn't registered it, we'll make it a crime to not pay the tax to register it. And in fact, register it. We catch you in an unregistered firearm as regulated under this act, we can put you in jail for that. We're not going to ban the firearms because that would be unconstitutional. And it's kind of refreshing in retrospect to see how Congress actually respected the Second Amendment back in 1934. And what's interesting is the NFA, the National Firearms Act of 1934, is not in the criminal code. It's not in Title 18, where, for instance, the Gun Control Act of 1968, which was the next big piece of federal legislation. That's in the criminal code, where you would expect it to be. The National Firearms Act 1934 isn't in the criminal code. Even though Congress was clearly trying to regulate criminal activity, it's in the tax code. It's in the Internal Revenue Code. Why? Because they're saying, well, we can't ban these things. That would be unconstitutional, so we'll tax them. So they said, for instance, on machine guns, well, you can own one, but you have to register it, and there's going to be a $200 tax in order to register it. And the intent was, clearly, that would be such a high tax that it would be prohibitive. People would say, well, I can't possibly own one of these because I'm not going to pay that. And guess where the $200 came from? This is a little-known fact. The $200 actually was the price of a Thompson submachine gun in 1934. So they intended that to be a 100% tax on a Tommy gun, as they were known. By the way, with inflation, do you know what that $200 tax stamp would be today? $4,555. That's actually as of last year in 2023. So inflation has had a toll there. But interestingly enough, the registration tax for NFA items is still $200. So name another area of the tax law that hasn't increased. It's still $200, just like it was in 1934. But that was the intent. So The idea is, yes, you can own them. And like today, when you hear people say, well, machine guns are illegal. No, they're not. No, they're not. You can own a machine gun. You just have to register it, and you have to pay the $200 tax. In addition, in 1986, we had what was called the Firearm Owners Protection Act, which in large respects is a very misleading name for the statute. But it was passed. What it did a number of things, and there are some things in there that protect gun owners. For instance, and I won't go into this tonight for the sake of time, it allows you to travel interstate in some ways and be protected, notwithstanding the laws of the state you may be traveling through, if you do that in a particular way with your firearms. So yes, there is some protection for firearm owners in there, but under what a lot of people refer to as the Hughes Amendment, because one particular legislator named Hughes rushed this in, and the NRA still catches a lot of crap over this, by the way, because the NRA apparently conceded this point, is they said, well, as of 1986, I believe it's April of 1986, if the machine gun is not already registered, it's already been imported, it's already been manufactured, and it's already been registered. If it hasn't already been registered as of April of 1986, it's not transferable, and you can't own any machine gun not registered before April of 1986. So to have a transferable machine gun today, not only does it have to be registered under the National Firearms Act of 1934, but it has to have been registered, manufactured, imported, and registered, and/or before April of 1986 to be a transferable machine gun. That's why the prices of machine guns have gone absolutely through the roof. But that's the NFA. So let's say you find a transferable machine gun. Now, the price is going to be exorbitant. You know, what would probably be a $700 or $800 or $900 firearm is going to be a $30,000 firearm, depending on condition, if it's a transferable machine gun. Because it doesn't take much technology, it doesn't take much engineering, it doesn't take much machining or gunsmithing to turn a semi-automatic firearm into an automatic firearm. Hell, you hear about the so-called Glock switches that people are making on 3D printers with a couple of cents worth of plastic and a few other parts. They're not hard to make, but you get a transferable one where it's legal to register. Now it's incredibly expensive. But if you find one and you're willing to pay the cost and you apply to register it with an ATF form called an ATF Form 4, that's to transfer an NFA item. Then you pay your $200. You file your Form 4 with the ATF along with the transfer, or you file it with them as the transferee. It's a joint form. They fill out their part as the seller. You fill out your part as the buyer, transferor, transferee. You send that in with your $200. You go through an additional background check. They approve it. They send you your approved Form 4 with what's called a tax stamp. The reason we call it a tax stamp because it shows you paid your $200 tax. Then you can legally own that machine gun. But what else is involved with the NFA? Why would you want to bother with it? I want to get into some of that, start answering some of those questions, and take your calls as we always do. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
The year's coldest day has arrived.
93 WIBC.
Winds wrapping around the low pressure. Wind chills only in the single digits.
Hear the news.
Murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in New York City.
Does not appear to be a random act.
Shot by a masked gunman.
Deny, depose, and defend, written on live rounds.
Another news update is minutes away.
The Pacers have dropped 8 straight road games.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training, and our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. This is 4.5 to 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner, including a detailed discussion of the law of self-defense when you are and are not justified in using force, including deadly force. We've got our next one coming up Saturday, January 25th. And by the way, this is available as a Christmas present. You want a gift certificate for the loved ones in your life you'd like to send to this course or attend with them? Hey, just let us know. We'll send you a gift certificate certificate. You can register right online. Saturday, January 25th, is going to be at Indy Arms on the northeast side of Indy, just off Keystone on 55th Street. $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. Also in March 15th, on a Saturday, Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range is hosting Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. Also, $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there. You can register right online. Go to tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Mortgage rates are down and creating more active buyers and sellers. You've been waiting. Now is a great time to sell your home before more homes flood the market, driving prices down. Maximize your home sale now with the market expert who delivers maximum money in less time, Mark Dietl. Perhaps you're worried you won't sell your home for the price you need. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Dee and Andrew in Noblesville had to say about working with Mark Dietl. We were done with the rat race and ready to live the dream of buying a camper and traveling west. We needed top cash from our home to make the dream work. Thankfully, we hired Mark Dietl, who delivered big time. Our home sold for our asking price in 4 days on the market. Call the local Indianapolis agent I trust and recommend, and the agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietl at 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietl.com. That's Mark, DIETL.com.
Your business needs a network it can count on.
Power's out.
Comcast Business has you covered with Wi-Fi backup to help keep your business up and running, even when your power goes out.
Everybody in the warehouse good?
Lights are out, but the Wi-Fi's up. Let's power on.
It's from the company with 99.9% network reliability.
Break room, you good?
Can't microwave my burrito, but Wi-Fi's fine. Let's power on.
Power on with the leader in connectivity, Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Learn how to get Comcast Business Internet, Security Edge, and Wi-Fi backup for $59 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement when you add Comcast Business Mobile Unlimited. Plus, for a limited time, find out how to get an $800 holiday bonus prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle. Don't wait. Call or go online to ComcastBusiness.com today. Ends 12/15/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 300 megabit per second internet, Security Edge, and Connection Pro. EcoBill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra and subject to change.
Go with your gut. Your dog's immune system is based in the gut. A diet lacking in nutrients can cause itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE. Dinovite.
It took a grand total of 2 weeks. The dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Try Dinovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dinovite.
What is 988?
It's a free 24-hour suicide and crisis lifeline.
With trained crisis specialists offering a listening ear.
For anyone experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis.
Or thoughts of suicide. Specialists have your best interest in mind.
And can connect you to helpful resources.
If you're experiencing a crisis, call or text the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's someone who gets you.
And it's a way forward.
If I could be you.
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way.
To get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Visa offering our Black Friday extended sale. 52% off, 10% manufacturer rebates, and 18 months, no interest, no payments.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at GotYour6.org.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So as I mentioned, if you're interested in an NFA item, and by the way, if I had to guess in terms of all the different NFA items that are registered with the federal government where people have paid that tax stamp or paid for that tax stamp, I bet machine guns is probably the lowest number of any registered NFA item. because they're pretty darn rare. And every year that goes by, they get a little more rare just because of the age, because to be transferable, again, they had to have been transferable. That is either imported or manufactured and registered before April of 1986. Now, that's getting a little long in the tooth. But they are registered, any NFA item. And they get registered in what's called the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Record, NFRTR. And that is a classic gun registry. Make no mistake. And a lot of people, I think, steer away from NFA items, particularly for that reason. They have no interest in having a gun that's registered with the federal government. And it absolutely is. Under the in the NFRTR, if you register an NFA item, there's still a number of us that do. And I have a number of NFA items. I don't own a machine gun. I don't have a great interest. I don't know. Would I, if there's a zombie apocalypse, would I like to have a fully registered, legal, and transferable Modus, 50 caliber machine gun, mounted in the back of a truck or on the roof of my house or something, I suppose. But for what I want and need firearms for, in my mind, a machine gun is not as desirable to me as I think it is for a lot of folks. A lot of people are just collectors, and I totally respect and understand that. I would never argue against it. But there are a lot of other items and quote unquote firearms that are regulated by the NFA. And one of the most popular is a short-barreled rifle. And again, going back to the impetus behind this, when Congress passed it in 1934, is this image of, gangland mob assassins walking around with weapons under their long overcoats, and whether, walking into banks to rob banks or walking into their rival gang headquarters to murder people, and where you had a rifle that had a short barrel on it, or that was overall short length, you could easily conceal that rifle, was, I think, the belief of Congress. So ultimately, it came that if you have a rifle, that's a gun designed to be fired from the shoulder, and it had a barrel less than 16 inches long, or it had an overall length under 26 inches, then that's a short-barreled rifle, and you had to register that. And then short-barreled shotguns. Short-barreled shotgun is a shotgun. Again, this is a gun with a smooth bore. A rifle has a rifled bore. That is a bore that's machined with lands and grooves in a spiral pattern that makes a bullet or other projectile spin, and designed to be fired from the shoulder. A shotgun has a smooth bore that also is designed to be fired from the shoulder. A shotgun with a barrel less than 18 inches or overall length under 26 inches is a short-barreled shotgun, has to be registered. And then suppressors. And a suppressor, I think, is the appropriate term, because the term silencer is a complete misnomer. And, that's what Hollywood has called them. And I'll tell you exactly why. I'll tell you exactly where that name comes from. And it's kind of a fun story. But suppressor is a much more accurate term, because a suppressor, and another word for it is firearm muffler. And in fact, that's another word along with silencer that appears in the federal regulations. And that's because it works on exactly the same technology as the muffler on your car. It takes these hot gases being released by the combustion of your engine, or in this case, the hot gases being released by the firing of a firearm, and it funnels those hot, high-pressure gases through an expansion chamber and then through a series of baffles. It reduces the pressure of those gases. It reduces the temperature of those gases, and where they're ultimately released into the atmosphere at the end of the suppressor, it's less loud than it would have been without the suppressor. And a typical suppressor, and it varies dramatically by caliber and barrel length and a number of other factors. So this isn't exact by any means, but generally speaking, a typical gunshot is in the area of 160 decibels. And now the decibel scale is logarithmic, and I won't spend a lot of time explaining that, but it's not linear. But it takes a gunshot that's normally about 160 decibels and it reduces it to somewhere around 130. And again, huge variation depending on caliber and any number of other factors. And is 130 decibels still loud? Yes. Is it hearing safe? Outdoors? Probably so. Some calibers are still so loud, even with a suppressor on them, they're not hearing safe, even outdoors. Others are. It just depends. Caliber, barrel length, and again, a number of factors contribute to that issue. But by the way, where the word silencer came from, the inventor, the person who filed the original patent on what we call a suppressor, because it's a more accurate term, because it doesn't silence anything, it just suppresses the report or sound of a gunshot. The original inventor, Hiram Percy Maxim, who also, by the way, was a pioneer in the area of what? Automotive mufflers. And he invented what he called his firearm muffler. That was his product. That was his term, because he also made car mufflers. And his brand name for his muffler, the brand name for his firearm muffler was the Silencer. And he was out there in the late teens and early 20s, and he was marketing his suppressor, which he called a firearm muffler, which had a brand name, the Silencer, and lo and behold, like a Band-Aid or a Kleenex, and people started calling them all silencers. In fact, there was a great ad. I had this that I used to post all the time. I'm sure it's somewhere on my computer. It was a great ad where it was a lady is in the late 20s, and she's got this long flowing dress with petticoats and very tight around the waist, but she's very elegantly dressed, and she's in her living room, and she's shooting a .22 rifle at a target in the middle of her living room with a suppressor on it. And this is Hiram Percy Maxim selling his suppressor that he called the Silencer. And he was saying, look where you can shoot your firearm, like anywhere and everywhere, because you can silence it to such a great degree. So suppressors, for reasons that remain a mystery to me, well, I can explain it in the sense that Congress had this idea of, criminal assassins sneaking around assassinating people left and right with these suppressors that they had mounted on their firearms. So, oh my gosh, we need to regulate these. And they included them along with machine guns within the NFA. And there are a couple other categories, by the way, particularly destructive devices and any other weapon. I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave those for another day, but talk about SBRs, SBSs, and suppressors. Do I own SBRs? Yes, I have multiple short-barreled rifles that I've registered. SBS, short-barreled shotgun, yes. Suppressors, oh my, yes. If there's something that you can easily become addicted to, let me just tell you, it's shooting with a suppressor. Why? Because it reduces recoil, and I'm not real recoil adverse. I've been shooting for a long time. I shoot a lot, and recoil's never really bothered me a lot. What a lot of people call kickback. You'll never hear an instructor or an experienced shooter talk about kickback, because they're really talking about two things. We're talking about muzzle rise, and we're talking about recoil. Recoil is the extent to which the gun comes straight back at you, whether a handgun or a long gun, that you have mounted on your shoulder. And muzzle rise is exactly what it sounds like, or muzzle flip, some people will call it. Two different issues. Again, caliber, barrel length is a huge influence on muzzle rise. But a suppressor will reduce recoil and dramatically decreases noise. And it can make shooting, frankly, a lot more fun. Now, some people like they're shooting loud. Hey, God bless you, I get it. The more I shoot with a suppressor, the more I like it. Shooting outside without the need for hearing protection. Hunters, we legalized here in Indiana hunting with a suppressor some number of years ago. I want to say 2015. Don't quote me on that. But it used to be illegal to hunt with a suppressor, even if it was registered with the federal government. Now it's legal in Indiana. Hunters love them. Why? Because you don't need hearing protection with a lot of firearms to shoot them outdoors with a suppressor. So you don't have to have your hearing protection on. You can hear what's going on around you. You can hear game around you and potentially not scare away, other deer or other game that you may be hunting through the sound of your gunshot. It makes you a better neighbor. I'm a huge fan of suppressors. Every time I buy I bought 2 in the last year. Every time I buy a suppressor, I want another one. I want another one that is a proper caliber, to use on other firearms. You can get multiple caliber suppressors. You get one suppressor that you can run on 4, 5, 6 different guns. But they do make you a better neighbor. They're definitely good for your hearing. I'm at the age of my hearing's terrible anyway. I was born deaf in my left ear, so I only got one ear to work with. So I like protecting my hearing. And what are the advantages of SBRs and SBSs? I'll tell you, we're past the bottom of the hour. It's time to take a break. And Patty has called in, I believe it is, and has some questions about
Second
NFA
to
items
none
as
on
well.
the Second Amendment.
So we'll go to the phone lines here in just a bit as producer Jack has things under control. And but right now we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
I remember our very first WIBC Radiothon for the Salvation Army. We raised $5,000.
The 30th anniversary WIBC Radiothon for the Salvation Army, presented by Financial Center.
Your donation is so important.
Since 1994, your generosity has helped raise millions of dollars that stay here in Central Indiana. Join us December 13th and 14th, doing the most good. The Salvation Army of Central Indiana, Financial Center at 93 WIBC.
Looking for a great place to go for car care?
Hi, this is Lonnie Hinkle from Jiffy Lube, and I'd like to share the top 5 reasons that every Hoosier should trust Jiffy Lube to help keep their car running safe and well. Number 5, our computer system holds the maintenance data for every make and model. We know exactly what your car needs and when it needs to be done. Number 4, Jiffy Lube's training system is in the Training Magazine Hall of Fame. Along with companies like Ritz-Carlton, Starbucks, and Nordstrom's, our team does the job right. Number 3, you never need an appointment. We are ready to serve you whenever it works best for you, so come on in and see us. Number 2, Jiffy Lube accepts competitor coupons so you can get our great service at the desperate price of our competitors. And number 1, Jiffy Lube is a one-stop maintenance shop, and we make it easy for you to take great care of your car. Avoid the repair shop by getting your maintenance done at Jiffy Lube. And we now offer brakes, tires, tune-ups, and minor repairs at most stores.
So head to Jiffy Lube. There's really no reason to take your car anywhere else.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-694-1127. 800-694-1127. That's 800-694-1127.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and this holiday season, you gotta visit Miss Mary's gift shop at Sundown Gardens for great holiday gifts and decor. Now's a great time to stock up on all things holiday, and the greenhouse still has all your live greenery needs. Come shop for fresh-cut trees, wreaths, garland, and porch pots. Sundown Gardens wants to wish everyone a happy holiday season. Sundown Gardens, located at 186th Street and Spring Mill Road in Westfield, sundown.gardens.com. That's sundown.gardens.com.
This hour powered by bwindow.com, where their annual 52% off Black Friday has been extended.
Fox News, I'm Roger Stern. The reopening ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, 5 years after fire nearly destroyed it. President-elect Trump and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden were there. French President Emmanuel Macron.
This evening, the bells of Notre Dame are ringing again.
Macron and Trump talked earlier at Élysée Palace. New York City police retracing the steps of the man who killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson Wednesday in Midtown.
Police believe the suspect likely left on a bus headed towards Atlanta, reversing the same route the gunman took to the city.
That's Fox's Chanley Painter reporting from New York City. America is listening to Fox News.
Just because teens are tech savvy doesn't mean they're tech safe. They're facing increasing risks online from inappropriate content, bullies, even predators. Encourage the teens in your life to come to you whenever someone or something makes them uncomfortable online. Make sure your teens are tech safe. Go to InternetCrimesAgainstKids.com. A message from the Indiana Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, sponsored by the Indiana State Police.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Don't miss the holiday concert experience of the season. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, The Lost Christmas Eve. December 19th, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Reserve seats on sale now at Ticketmaster. An awe-inspiring blend of rock, classical, and holiday music for the entire family. Don't miss Trans-Siberian Orchestra, live in concert.
Hey, this is Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. The year-end clearance event is now through Monday. Save 50% off all, in-stock and special order Lazy Boy and Smith Brothers with extra discounts for cash and 12 months interest-free financing. That's every sofa, recliner, sectional, plus get a free large Big Green Egg with select Tempur-Pedic and Stearns & Foster mattresses. Hurry, sale ends Monday only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus with free delivery.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WYPC.
And welcome back. We're talking about NFA items regulated by the National Firearms Act of 1934. And for the sake of this discussion and for sake of brevity, we're not talking about a couple of more obscure categories, any other weapons, which are basically concealable firearms other than handguns and or pistols and revolvers, and destructive devices, which are essentially very large bore firearms for the most part. And we're going to leave those off the table for now. But short-barreled shotguns, short-barreled rifles, machine guns, and suppressors. I was talking about suppressors. Why would you want to own one? Man, again, big fan of suppressors. Huge fan. And every time I buy one, I think of 3 more guns that I want suppressors for. Now, a lot of people are intimidated away from. Let's take the registration part separately. And yes, I understand why people don't want their guns on a registry maintained by the federal government. Get that? Believe me, 1,000%. But let's get past that. A lot of people are simply intimidated by the paperwork. And let me tell you, that's getting a hell of a lot easier. You can set up an eForms account, it's called, with ATF. I have one. And again, right now, I'll guarantee there are people out there going, a form with, or an account with ATF? Hell no. All of this presumes you're going to be comfortable with registering whatever firearm it is you're talking about with the ATF to begin with. So this is just to facilitate that process. But you can do this electronically, and you can file to transfer. If I want to go buy a suppressor, again, which I've done a couple times here just in the last few months, I find the suppressor I want from the FFL, the Federal Firearms Licensee, or gun shop, and I say, I want that suppressor. Typically, I pay for it. Then we fill out what's called a Form 4. That's a Form 4 to transfer that NFA item. They fill out their part as the transferor. I fill out my part as the transferee. You can now do that electronically. Now, you have to provide a picture. If you're doing this as an individual, you do it just for you. You can do this as part of a trust. That's a whole nother discussion. What we do a lot of in my law office are NFA trusts. That allows multiple people that are co-trustees on that trust to possess that same NFA item, where otherwise only the registered owner can possess the NFA item. So you got family members, shooting buddies, whatever you want to share an NFA item with, you need a trust. It also resolves what happens to that item upon your death, and your estate doesn't have to go back to the government and play Mother May I, but you fill out the form as an individual or as on behalf of the trust, or you can theoretically do it as a corporation, and you provide fingerprints and a picture. Now there are places you can go, and I went to a place called PrintScan, and you can just Google printscan.com. It'll give you the closest one to you, and no association. They pay me no money, but I went there. I got an electronic set of fingerprints that I just keep on my computer along with my picture. Any NFA form that I ever fill out now, I have my prints right there in a digital file. I just upload them. Don't have to go get re-fingerprinted every time I do it. You do all of that. You do your part on the electronic form. The transferor does their part. You pay your $200. You upload your fingerprints, your picture. Boom. You file it. Last 2 suppressors I bought, I got approvals in less than 5 days. It used to be a year, and to this day, if you fire a paper form, because you don't have to do it electronically, you can do this in paper, and it's still multiple months to get these done paper. I don't know if it just takes ATF that much longer, or they're just trying to intentionally steer people toward the electronic process. Let's say I want a short-barreled shotgun or a short-barreled rifle. Now, let's take a minute. Why would I want a short-barreled rifle? What are the disadvantages of a short-barreled rifle? Well, you lose velocity. The less time and space within the barrel that a cartridge has for the gunpowder to burn, to power that projectile, that bullet out of that barrel, that typically, and there are parameters depending on caliber, and there are points of diminishing marginal returns when it comes to barrel length. And you could look up the ballistics and see the curves on all of this and decide, you know, how long or how short you want to go on barrel length. But you lose to some degree. The general rule is you lose velocity by shortening your barrel length. That's a downside. But there's still calibers like .300 Blackout. The reason that's so popular with people who want to have short-barreled rifles, it was designed for shorter barrels, where you can shoot it out of a shorter barrel and not lose velocity. It was also designed to be shot out of suppressed guns. For a lot of people, I am one of the ones who owns a suppressed .300 Blackout SBR. Why? Because it was designed to be shot out of shorter barrels. Why would I want a shorter barrel? If I'm going to lose, at least in some calibers, because I have 5.56 SBRs as well. I have a 9mm SBR. Why would I want a shorter barrel 5.56, a typical AR-15? Well, if I'm going to put a suppressor on it, if I have a 16-inch barrel and then I put a suppressor that's typically, 6-7 inches on the end of that barrel, now I've got a 23, 24-inch firearm in terms of barrel length that can be very unwieldy. It can be really hard to manage things like getting in and out of vehicles, going up and down stairwells, going in and out of doorways. Go do a room clearing exercise, which I've done a bunch of. I was just late last fall, I was out at Gunsight out in Paulden, Arizona. And we did the shoot house, what they call it, where you do room clearing. Go around corners, go up and down stairwells, go through doorways, and you're going to like a shorter barrel a hell of a lot more than you like a longer barrel. And you want to suppress your firearm, a shorter barrel is almost a must. Now, do I have long-range rifles like my .300 Win Mag that's got a 24, 25-inch barrel on it? Do I care how long that barrel is? No, because I'm not going through doorways with it. I'm not getting in and out of vehicles with it. I'm prone or on a bench rest, and I don't much care how long the barrel is. So different mentality. But a fighting rifle, which we talk about here all the time, the one I just had built by Rock-Op Defense Solutions that advertises here on the show, I ended up making that a 12.5-inch barrel. Why? Because 12.5 inches is still very effective with a 5.56 caliber. And by adding then a suppressor, I've got a gun that's not much longer than a gun with a 16-inch barrel and no suppressor. So now I've got a manageable length in my gun, even with a suppressor on it. Short-barreled shotgun. Again, take a defensive shotgun course where you're going through doorways, getting in and out of vehicles. You're going to like a shorter barrel. Are there downsides? Yes. Are there advantages? Absolutely. Indiana, by the way, used to outlaw so-called sawed-off shotguns, that is shotguns with barrels less than 18 inches, effective July 1st, 2015. Indiana did away with that and said, if you register your short-barreled shotgun, that's a shotgun with a barrel less than 18 inches, if you register it with the federal government, it's legal to have here in Indiana. I filed my Form 1. I did this electronically, like just after midnight on July 1st, 2015. I wanted to be the first kid on my block with a short-barreled shotgun. One, is there a cool factor? I suppose. Secondly, much better, because I've taken several defensive shotgun courses. You know, running with one, going through doorways, doing room clearing, going up stairwells, getting in and out of vehicles is huge. Big, long barrel on your shotgun, especially 18 inches, not an easy thing to do. So, yes, that's the advantage. Downside, got to do the paperwork. Now, what if I have a full-length shotgun today and I want to make it a short-barreled shotgun. Can I do that? In Indiana, under Indiana law, yes, but I have to get permission from the federal government. Again, I fully understand why a whole bunch of people don't want to do this. How do I get that permission to make, not to transfer, as I was talking about with suppressors or otherwise with NFA items? What if I want to make, what if I want to take my shotgun, because this is what I did. I took my Remington 870 with an 18-inch barrel, and I made a short-barreled shotgun. How do I do that? That's what we'll go into here just briefly. We don't have a real long segment when we come back. And you know what? Patty's been on hold forever, so I'll go to the phone lines as well. But we'll be right back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
The year's coldest day has arrived.
93 WIBC.
Winds wrapping around the low pressure. Wind chills only in the single digits.
Hear the news.
Murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in New York City.
Does not appear to be a random act.
Shot by a masked gunman.
Deny, depose, and defend, written on live rounds.
Another news update is minutes away.
The Pacers have dropped 8 straight road games.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the whoops. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Nigel. Galaxy Concrete Coatings did a wonderful job on my garage floor. My new Galaxy Concrete garage floor coating is out of this world. Hey, by the way, Galaxy Concrete Coatings is supporting the Salvation Army Radiothon through my virtual Red Kettle, now through December 14th. They're matching donations up to $1,000. So help make someone's life a little better. Go to WIBC.com and look for my virtual Red Kettle with Galaxy Concrete Coatings, matching up to $1,000.
An official message from Medicare.
Couple more minutes, and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year, I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money.
Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Planning to propose this holiday? Shane Company is ready to help you find your dream engagement ring. We handpick the most beautiful diamonds and colorful gemstones in all shapes and sizes. So when you walk in the door, you can trust your rock is in stock. At Shane Company, we've always sourced directly, cut out the middleman, and pass the savings on to you. We work with your budget, not against it. We'll also protect your ring for life with our free unmatched lifetime warranty. Come see us at shaneco.com and in-store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Technology Recyclers is Indiana's #1 choice for computer and electronics recycling. A Hoosier veteran-owned company, Technology Recyclers is R2 certified, 100% landfill-free, and always guarantees complete data destruction. You can expect free business pickups anywhere in Indiana. Visit Technology Recyclers at tech-recyclers.com or call 1-800-237-3887. Technology Recyclers, the official sponsors of tomorrow. That's tech-recyclers.com for a stress-free experience in recycling.
When it's time to renovate, it's time to call Booher. B-O-O-H-E-R, BooherRemodeling.com, because it's about the process. It's about dealing with professionals who are with you every step of the way, communicating how things work. The best craftsmen and professionals who have been doing kitchens and bathrooms in Indianapolis for 2 decades. Talk to Booher Remodeling today about how they work and why it will work for you and your new kitchen. Call 317-852-5546, 852-5546, or online at Booher. B-O-O-H-E-R, BooherRemodeling.com.
Never miss your favorite shows on WIBC. Get your content to go. Would you like fries with that? Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey, Hammer and Nigel, Tony Kennett, The Gun Guy, Home and Garden. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for our last segment here. And I'll tell you what, Patty's been holding forever. Patty, thanks so much for your patience. Welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Well, thank you. And I'd like to thank you for getting all this information out and how you do it. You answered most of it on NFA Trust. It was how you do it, the pros and cons. And then what would happen if you use an NFA item in self-defense in your home, typically like Marion County?
You know, I don't see any downside. And thanks so much for not only for your call, but for your patience, Patty. I don't see any downside. Now, if it's a machine gun, Do I think Ryan Mears would go out of his way to find some reason to prosecute you because you defended your home with a machine gun? Probably. And with a machine gun, obviously, you got to worry about where rounds go. Now, again, let's say I've got a suppressed SBR. In fact, I went to the range today, and there may or may not be a suppressed SBR in my trunk, in my gun safe right now. And let's say, I was called upon to defend myself with that suppressed. I have a suppressed SBR that's my nightstand gun. Why? Because I want a suppressed gun in my home. I want a high-capacity gun in my home. I want a short-barreled rifle to go through doorways and around corners. And so I have an NFA item that's my primary self-defense gun. It is the gun that's next to my bed when I go to bed every night. So I've made the decision. I don't think that if I'm otherwise justified in defending my life and my home, and my family, that a prosecutor, and I don't live in Marion County, but a prosecutor could do anything, make any kind of a point, try to spin a legal shoot into an illegal shoot because I use a suppressed SBR. Now, are there places in this country, including perhaps Marion County, where if you use an AR-15 style rifle to defend yourself, a prosecutor's going to try to prosecute you? Yeah, I could see that, yes. But I think the advantages of the firearms far outweigh that. That's the reason that I'm a big fan. But to answer my quick question, and thanks again to Patty for calling and for waiting, but let's say I want to make, and I've done this multiple times. For instance, I bought my full-size rifle from Rock-Op Defense Solutions. It has a 16-inch barrel on it when I bought it. Then afterward, I said, no, you know what? I really want to suppress this. I want to make it really the ultimate rifle for me. I want a shorter barrel on it. I want to go down to 12.5 inches on the barrel, add a suppressor. And so I then filed a Form 1. That's to make an NFA item. And you can now do that electronically. And the good news is that's just you. It's not like the gun shop has to fill out part, you fill out the other part. If you already own the item and you want to make it into an NFA item, like to make a short-barreled shotgun, this is what I did with my shotgun in 2015. It's what I just did with my Rock-Op Defense Solution AR. I filed a Form 1. What's that say? It says, Dear NFA branch of the ATF, I want to make this rifle into an SBR. Filled it out, attached my fingerprints, gave them the dimensions of what it is I wanted to make. 5 days later, got my approval. Boom, now I've got an SBR. So that's the process. And that's the end of this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you come back next week. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Holiday shoppers, it's Terry Stacy. Locally owned Cynthia's Hallmark is your one-stop shop for everyone on your list. 4 locations filled with beautiful, fun, on-trend gifts. The infamous Christmas story Lego lamp to display in your front window is selling like crazy.